Lori here. I'm here today to do my Owl Crate review book for the month of November. In November, they gave us Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This cover is stunning, and it also was an Owl Crate exclusive. The other cover, I think, is red, but I have to show you guys. This is for all the books. If you get one, like otherwise, this is also red. But look at this cover. Like, this is without the dust jacket. This is just so pretty. I love this book. So I'm definitely not getting rid of this book. This book is definitely going to stay on my shelf. But this is the Queen of Hearts, the origin story for the Queen of Hearts, and it is a standalone. And in that box, we also got a version of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So I'm going to do a review of Heartless, and then I'm going to talk about the impact that it had on after I read Alice in Wonderland. I really, really love this book. I gave this book 5 stars. I thought it was spectacular. It was funny because going into the story, I actually did want to feel sympathy for the Red Queen, and I actually did. I mean, the Queen of Hearts, I actually did. But it was funny because something similar happened when she did her Lunar Chronicles. She had a book about the Queen Lavanya, and I hated this character, and I didn't want to have any sympathy for her. So that book really, really didn't make me have any sympathy. But for this character, for Kath in this book, I had so much sympathy for her. So I really was very, very torn, and it was such an interesting read because going into the book, you know how the story of Alice in Wonderland goes. You know she's a terrible character. But I actually, when the book started, I was like, oh, well, maybe she won't be that bad. Maybe we'll get, a trick or something that reveals why she's that bad. But it really was, the best way I could describe this book is it was, a fallen hero story. And I feel like that was, the best way to describe Heartless. It really was heartbreaking and was devastating. And it really, broke your heart a little bit because she builds this character up to be a certain type of character. And then everything goes wrong. And she really becomes the cold-hearted character you see in this book. But how she gets there is really, really heartbreaking. But overall, I love the world building. I think what Marissa Meyer does very, very well in any story you read by Marissa Meyer is she does build such creative worlds. And I think with this, she also had this amazing world. And I know we have seen Alice in Wonderland in so many different incarnations and, TV shows and movies and books. But she really took the hallmarks of Lewis Carroll's world and really incorporated it into her world. She built an even bigger world, and she made it even more unique and more different than I expected. And I think when I actually read Alice in Wonderland, I could pick out, that's where she got that. But I liked how she made the world so much more bigger than what you saw in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I thought that it was a really, really good book. The world building was spectacular, as I mentioned. The pacing in this book was different because I think it wasn't slow. It wasn't fast. I think it was slow, but it really allowed me to drink in this world. And I felt like I really drunk in the characters and the world, and I felt invested in them. So for me, it was it wasn't a fast-paced book, and it had cliffhangers, some chapters ended on cliffhangers. But in the end, it just really let me drink it in, and that was kind of the pace of it. So it wasn't a fast novel, but I just kept wanting to read because the world and the characters were so rich. It does have a very heavy romance plot, which if you don't like romance, this may not be the retelling for you. But I really did like the relationship between the characters that developed, and I thought that it really had a lot of instances that were you didn't know where the story was going to wind up. And I think throughout the entire book, I was oh, well, how is this character going to become this character? And I thought she did it in a very, very unique and creative way. But I think the characters were at the heart of this book were so different and so unique, and I really, really enjoyed reading about them. She had a lot of, little Easter eggs that when you read this book, you're oh, that's who that is, that's who that is. So overall, I really, really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys will give it a chance or read it. If you haven't read anything else by Marissa Meyer, I highly recommend her Cinder series because it also builds a very, very complex world. After I read Heartless, I then read on and I read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. This is the first time I actually read the actual story. I was in a version of it. I was in the play version, but it had definitely different characters in it, the one that we did. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars, and it was a fun read after reading this. And I like to say oh, well, that's who that is. So the connections back. So I highly recommend if you read this, to then read a version of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, because I think that it will be an even more unique story for you guys. Anyway, I hope you guys like my review, and I'll be back next month with a review of the December book for Owl Crate, and I'll talk to you guys later.